Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior and welcome back to another Mortal Kombat 11 video. Now in today's topic and discussion, I wanted to actually talk about the reveal of last week's Kombat Pack and whether or not I feel like it is a worthy successor to the other DLC packs and a good way to wrap up Mortal Kombat 11. Now in order for me to actually do this, I will be expressing my own honest feelings and opinions here, so be warned, opinions coming your way, and I will be going from character to character, analysing their overall designs, whether or not I thought it was a wise choice for their inclusion in the Kombat Pack, and what exactly is their appeal, what is their main selling point that may have fans actually like them. Now as I just did mention, this is all going to be opinion based. I want to express my honest feelings about Kombat Pack 2 and where it does shine and where it does fall short. So with that being said, let's actually talk about each of the DLC characters and whether or not I think they're a great inclusion here. Now right out the gate, let's pretty much start off with the most popular character here, Mileena. Now if I have to be entirely honest, I can't say I'm a dedicated Mileena fan. If she was in the game, it wouldn't bother me. If she wasn't in the game, it still wouldn't bother me. However, considering the large fan base that is behind her and we're really advocating for her return, I am in all honesty very pleased to see that people got what they wanted. It's nice to see people enjoy things they ask for. So all in all, I think that this is a very good choice that NRS did make. The character's in very high demand. And on top of that, she is a legacy based character, having been around since Mortal Kombat 2. It felt only natural that she would make the cut since she didn't make the base roster, and I think many can agree here, but it is nice to see her return. Although I will say, I think it's a bit sooner than it needs to be. Again, I get it, big huge fan base, but I don't think sitting out one game would be too bad. There's a fair few characters for Mortal Kombat 9 that didn't make it into X, that did return in 11. So it seems like a bit of a quick push, but again, if people like her and her return, and it seems to be an overwhelming positive reception from the fan base, then so be it. I'm actually kind of okay with that. Now, in terms of visual design here, it kind of seems to be a bit of a mixed bag, at least from what I've seen. Personally, I quite like this design of Mileena. It meshes aspects from her original design in Mortal Kombat 2, as well as X, and I feel like what I enjoy the most about her visual design is that they fully allowed her to give into her more feral appearance. You see, in Mortal Kombat X, for whatever reason, NRS decided to give her lips, and whilst I don't think it was a bad choice at all, it was definitely very different from her MK9 counterpart, as well as her MK2 counterpart, which was her original design. So it was a weird and strange change, although it seemingly was a small one. Now here, it seems like we're going back to her original design, and we now have full Tarkatan fangs, which in all honesty is really good. I know some people are complaining about her looking ugly, but that's the thing with Mileena. It is in her nature and her character. There is a reason why she has the veil up. You see, one of the interesting parts about Mileena's character is the somewhat mystique she brings to herself. There's this mysterious, sexy, alluring nature to her that is designed to somewhat invite attention. By inviting attention, people will follow, and by following, Mileena will get her food. Mileena as a character is completely designed on the aspect and idea of sexual appeal, and one that will clearly bite you in your ass, in the most literal sense possible, I suppose. But point being is that she's supposed to be like this. She is supposed to be the Venus flytrap that lures you in with a sweet scent and then devours you. It's in the nature of her character and design, so I'm pretty glad they went back to her old design in that sense. However, my one gripe with Mileena here so far is that she kind of lacks that sex appeal of the older games. Again, not necessarily a bad thing, but fundamentally what the core of the character is all about. Her default costume, whilst very pretty mind you, is a little too modest from what we expect from Mileena. Mind you, it definitely doesn't need to look anything like her MK9 design, because they were definitely pushing it back then. But in Mortal Kombat 11, her design seems a little bit too safe from what we expect from her. I feel like the sex appeal that Mileena kind of had was given to Sindel. As well, Sindel's dialogue says a lot for itself, so I'm not entirely too sure what I feel about Mileena here. It seems like they're going for more of a feral design in this game, but I suppose it's far too early for me to say. This is definitely a case of where we have to wait and see what's going on with it. But overall, I do feel like Mileena's a good choice. I'm glad that people got what they wanted. Now, our next character is someone I'm mildly biased towards, and that is the son of Argus, Rain. Now, once again, a fantastic character. Really cool, deep ties to the lore, a demigod, and someone that has clearly been involved in the new timeline a fair bit, making his DLC return in Mortal Kombat 9, playing an NPC role in the story mode of Mortal Kombat X, a tiny role in the MKX comic book series, and once again returns in Mortal Kombat 11 as DLC. He's clearly a character that NRS want on the base cast roster, but for whatever reason just hasn't made the cut. So it's nice to actually have him be in the game. So Rain's clearly a character that they do like, and is one that is in surprising high demand. I have to say, since I'm recording this video one day after his gameplay reveal, that his designs look absolutely incredible. NRS have done an incredible job of meshing different ideas from costumes in the past with a modern visual flair. His standard default design looks incredible, taking ideas and concepts from the Middle East as well as his 3D design. He has what I could only dub as a god costume, something that resembles the Greek pantheon of gods. And finally, he has a new ninja costume, which takes ideas from his original design and modernizes it for a new interesting appearance. Overall, Rain's redesign has been nothing short of impressive, and I do love how they're drawing influence from older games as well as cultures and backgrounds from outside of it. I love when they're able to bring these different concepts and ideas together into something refreshing and new. So in my opinion, I do feel like Rain is a very good DLC choice. But there is one slight problem that I do have with Rain, and this will go on to the cons of the pack later on, and that is him being rehashed as DLC. Again, I'm happy about his inclusion, but considering that there are some characters that are yet to be even DLC for Mortal Kombat 11 from the 3D era, it feels like quite a safe pick. Again, Rain has a big fan base behind him, I know, but there are still some characters that I would like to see get some love. Like Hotaru and Havoc haven't been playable since Armageddon, so not saying that Rain isn't worthy of a DLC spot, I just feel like there's other contenders that could definitely do with it a little bit more than him, which will lead on to another topic later on regarding the size of the Kombat Pack, but we'll get to that later. Now, our next character is a guest character, and that is Rambo. Now, understandably, this one seems to be kind of a make or break thing, depending on which side of the fence you're on when it comes to having guest characters in the game and not wanting guest characters in the game. Now, one thing I do really like so far about what they've done with Rambo is that NetherRealm have marketed this character as a grappler trap setup character. So understandably, very different from how RoboCop was marketed, as he was focused on a keep away character, and keep away projectile characters in NetherRealm games are typically shunned. So I do like the approach they've had with Rambo here, having him be a very unique blend of ideas. It's a good step in the right direction, and at least if we're getting a guest character, then they can play in an interesting manner. Now, in terms of design, NetherRealm have done a fantastic job of capturing Sylvester Stallone's likeness down to a T with Rambo. He looks exactly like he did in the film, and honestly, it's super impressive considering that Mortal Kombat 11 still runs on Unreal Engine 3. Whilst it is definitely a hybrid version of the engine, they do make it look very good. Now, I feel like the icing on the cake here for this choice is that they've actually got Stallone to come in and do his lines for them. So not only have they captured his likeness, but they even got the actor to do the job, and I think it's phenomenal that Stallone stepped up and decided to play a role in this. It also goes to show that NetherRealm is listening to us and wants to give us a better product, as there was a huge amount of backlash with Terminator's inclusion in the game, because whilst it retained Arnold's appearance, it definitely did not sound like him. Now, I'm not going to pretend like I know much about Rambo here. I haven't watched one of his films since I was 6 or 8, so I can't really talk about his background and history and whether or not I feel like he fits into the game. I'm uneducated in that sense, but I do like the steps and direction they're going with this guest DLC character. Although for me at this point, guest DLC characters definitely do not bother me. I'm glad to see that NetherRealm is trying their best to sell us on this character, even if there is a fair amount that aren't invested in playing him. Now, my overall thoughts on the pack is that it's pretty good. They are good choices, and honestly, I think it's a great way of sending off Mortal Kombat 11. But it isn't a flawless pack, and I do have some criticism. Like, for one, it's a very small pack, consisting of only 3 characters. Now, I do think that the character choices and size of the DLC pack was ultimately done because of COVID. It threw a spanner in the works, and has ultimately limited a lot of production on the game. So whilst I definitely think every character in this DLC pack is a good choice, I definitely feel like it was one that they played safe. According to apparent leaks, and I do use air quotes, there were supposed to be more characters for the game, but due to the global pandemic, these ideas have more than likely been scrapped, which is why I also feel they picked these characters. They are still fresh in our minds, and whilst Mortal Kombat may not entirely be a legacy-based game, there's still ideas and concepts they can play off, instead of having to go back to the older games and completely rework some movesets, which is more than likely why we didn't get a 3D character or more characters for that matter. It would have taken in more time. Now honestly, I feel like my biggest criticism of the pack as a whole is that there wasn't a character that turned up that made me go, holy shit, I never expected to see this character again. There are some characters that haven't been playable for more than a decade, and it would be nice to see them return. The only curveball in the trailer was Rambo, so I hope that in the future we get a few more spanners being thrown at her, in the sense that it might seem like a character choice from completely left field. I mentioned them earlier, but it would be nice to see Havoc or Hotaru return. Whilst I'm very critical of the 3D era, as there's a lot of bad characters in that era, Jesus Christ, there's still some good that came out the bad, and it would be nice to see some of those characters return with a fresh coat of paint. Now on a somewhat contradictory note, I find Rambo's inclusion very strange, as typically the guest characters are brought out to coincide with a film, but the last time Rambo had a film was last year, so it's strange to me that they would actually have a character like this appear way later after a movie's release. Another point that I do wish to make, and it might be my own ignorance, is that I feel like the inclusion of Rambo is very strange, considering the whole age demographic that Mortal Kombat kind of appeals to now. You see, whilst Mortal Kombat 9 is a sequel to Armageddon, it is a reboot in the most literal sense, to reintroduce a series to a new generation of players. So I find it kind of odd for them to include a character from the 1980s, like Rambo, considering that he's somewhat lost his cultural relevance after what I would say was his own original trilogy. Of course, there were more films after this, but they didn't quite have the punch or impact of the very first film. So that's why I find his inclusion in this pack quite strange, as it doesn't seem to appeal to the main demographic and audience. Now with Kombat Pack 2 only a month away, this does ultimately raise the question of, is this it for Mortal Kombat 11? Does it mean we'll be getting more DLC? Well, in all honesty, I think that this is it. I considered Aftermath like a DLC expansion, much like Destiny has a seasonal expansion before its big yearly reboot slash send off for the year's worth of content. And on top of this, whilst we've definitely had more content for Mortal Kombat 11, we know that NetherRealm is still in its 2-year cycle. Whilst we have more DLC, that doesn't necessarily mean it's broken it. Plus we do have the Game Awards in December, and considering that NRS revealed Mortal Kombat 11 at the 2018 Game Awards, it's only natural to assume that Injustice 3 is on the horizon. The Ultimate Edition of the game has clearly been made to coincide with the release of the next gen console. So right now, I still definitely do feel we are at the end of Mortal Kombat 11's life, and we will be moving on to the next big thing. But overall, I do like the character choices of Kombat Pack 2. All feel solid but safe choices. Maybe COVID was an issue here and prevented more characters from appearing, but in the future, I really would like to see them surprise us with characters that may be a little bit out there, but I'm always up for being surprised. But for now, that's my honest thoughts on Kombat Pack 2. I really like it and I definitely don't hate it, but I definitely would have preferred to see something a little bit out there. Now what are your thoughts on Kombat Pack 2? Who are you interested in playing? And if you were to make a Kombat Pack 2 yourself, consisting of only 3 characters, guest character being optional, who would they be? Please do comment down below, as I'm actually really interested to hear what you all have to say, because at this point I genuinely can't think of a guest character I'd want in a Kombat Pack. Like, they've done all the characters I would have wanted. But yeah guys, that's it from me for now. So before this video wraps up, if possible, let's try getting it to about 500 likes, and please do not forget to tick that bell, as it will keep you up to date with all of my content. So for now, as always guys, please comment, like, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know. Please take care, and I'll see you all next time.